The College Football Experience Week 5 reaction show on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress. Use the promo code CFBX on your first purchase to save $20. Download that Game Time app. Once again, promo code CFBX for $20 off. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, play the Underdog Pick'em in college or NFL. It went up to 20 times the amount of time or the amount of money you can enter in one game. Plus, every Sunday they're giving away $100,000. Woo! Use that promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for 100% deposit bonus up to $500. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Randy Kloss. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
So, as had a lot of things I had to do yesterday. It was one of our good buddies, birthdays. So we had for the big 4-0. It was a big party coming in from out of town. We had to do it right, and so we didn't do our traditional Saturday reaction show. But for the rest of the season, I'm locked into it. Trust me. You're probably wondering just who the hell you're listening to. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink and don't have stress and I'm healthy.
Oh, did we have a money college football week, though? I mean, might have hit my teaser. Yeah, I did. Might have hit my lock. Might have hit my... No, I didn't hit my dog. Both locks, though. Lock and bonus lock. And we had a bunch of other locks. I won a lock battle. Also lost a lock battle. How are we doing volume-wise? Are we low or are we high?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, I am joined by my co-host. He was at the same very party I was at, and he definitely probably smells like a river in Tijuana right now. Give it up for former JMU Juke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C, the place to be.
Hi-oh. Up.
Oh, this is what the Sunday.
That is 48 drinks in 48 hours. That's what that sounds like.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the chat. Hey, Chad, hit us up. If I'm curious how we sound because we definitely had a problem the other day, and I don't understand the equipment is set up. Me and Real Money Kramer did a test on this, and we're trying to make sure we're good here. But we had a wild week of college football action. We were definitely at a bar late watching a bunch of games here. Sounds great here. Okay, glad to hear that in the chat. But let's get to it. We had just Thursday night. I'm going to start chronologically. I'm not going to go by the biggest games because it's all subjective. Middle Tennessee loses to Western Kentucky 31-10. NC Nick did lock this. He cashed. Western Kentucky minus the points at 100 miles of hate. I'm seeing people talk about the sound is rough. I don't understand. What are you guys listening to? So I don't know. But anyway, Western Kentucky gets it done, and bear with us. We'll be back also tomorrow morning. I'll be back with CJ Sullivan and the Bombs Down Under podcast. But sound is rough, everyone's saying. Huh. You know what? I think we might scrap this and just do this tomorrow. I think we just might do this tomorrow because this is a reoccurring problem, and we don't know why. We don't know why. So, okay. Well, we try to do this. I don't understand. This is a big problem, though, because with college basketball coming, I use this device every single day. And if it's not working, might have to buy a new fucking device. All right, folks. Well, it's the sound bites is what we're saying. Okay. So I will try not to use the sound bites. But actually, okay, well, let's talk a little bit about it. Let's talk a little bit about stuff. NC Nick hits his lock with Western Kentucky. I ate shit on Temple Tulsa. I mean, Tulsa, they look good with the backup quarterback. For a team that I have a wager on, I have a win total under. They're 3-2. I think they got to hit 5. And I think they're going to, mainly because they play Florida Atlantic next week, and Florida Atlantic's starting quarterback is out for the year. But I could also make a case that they won't win 2 more games. So if they lose in Boca Raton next week, I do think they'll lose to Rice the week after. I do think they'll lose at SMU. Then in November, they get Charlotte. That could be the one that gets them over. That's one. That's one, I think, that they could get. At Tulane, loss. And home to North Texas before at ECU. So I think that Charlotte, that North Texas game, absolutely huge. Patty C, I know that you had more faith in the Tulsa Golden Hurricane program as they get it done. Anyway, what do you make of the Golden Hurricane beating the piss out of the Temple Owls? You're on mute, man. It's a fucking mess. Yeah, I don't got you, man. I don't know. Anyway, folks, you know what? We're going to scrap this fucking idea. This is just not working out at home, and I don't know what the problem is. So, this is a reoccurring fucking problem. I recorded the DFS show at home the other day. It was an issue. I don't have them muted. So I don't know. But Temple Tulsa was a hell of a game. You got to set up your mic, man. You got to, if you're switching from mic back and forth, you got to set it up. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. This is not good. But maybe I need to buy a new fucking mixer. I don't know, because this happened in the DFS show the other day. I went through and made sure everything was plugged in correctly, and I apologize. Patty C still says, let's try it. He's going to jump back in. We will try to go game by game. But if you hear me fine, we can just keep doing it. I'll do it fucking solo. All right? I just don't know that I'm going to release this as a podcast. It's just going to be, this is a YouTube freebie because, yeah, this is a fucking mess. Louisville, NC State. I had Louisville -3. It pushed. But the better thing here was that I have Louisville over 8 wins. So huge win for me, because I know Notre Dame's on deck for Louisville, but after that, it's Pittsburgh, which is looking like an auto win, and then it's Virginia Tech, and then boom, we are home, and I think they can get the best out of some other teams on that schedule. Let's see if Patty C can join us here. Patty C.
Yo, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. All
right, back in the game. Let's rock.
Yeah. So I was talking Louisville, NC State. Louisville gets the dub in Raleigh. I'm going to go ahead and say, so I hold a ticket for Louisville over 8 wins. I also hold a ticket for Louisville to win the ACC.
Both looking pretty good.
Yeah. I don't even think they're the best team. I mean, I honestly think Duke's probably better. But the thing is that they don't play North Carolina. They don't play Clemson. They don't play Florida State. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say this. They can lose next week to Notre Dame. That game's irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
They can lose the final game of the year, the Governor's Cup, to Kentucky. Irrelevant.
Yeah, both of those 5-0. Those are tough games on their schedule. So it's not that their overall schedule is, super easy, but it is pretty easy. But yeah,
Well,
the remaining games of the ACC schedule, Pitt looks
win.
pretty damn vulnerable. Yep, they
Looks
get a
awful.
bye week.
Yeah.
Bye week before hosting Duke. That's winnable.
Yeah.
Virginia and Virginia Tech both at home. Those are wins.
Yeah.
And then the road trip to Miami, which they could probably get away with losing based on how much carnage there is in the rest of the ACC.
I'm saying.
I think they're already in the ACC championship.
They're pretty damn close. I would say they need to not fumble, like the Pitt game.
Yeah.
Pitt, they need to not fumble that one. If they beat Pitt, I think they've kind of solidified it.
Right. Well, I'll say this. If chalk holds, if things go the way we expect them, I would think, depending, I guess, the Florida State and Miami, they could both have one loss at the end of the season. We don't know how good Miami really is right now.
Yeah.
If they go to Miami and take a loss, then that might cost
Miami's got to play Clemson. Miami's got to play North Carolina. You know what I mean? Like Miami has a much harder road than Louisville. So I would just say it's like pretty damn close to it being a shoe-in for Louisville to get in there. Shout out to the Cards getting that ugly win in Raleigh. Utah went into Corvallis to take on the Oregon State Beavers. This was my number one lock. I want to play my music, but since I might blow up the entire place if I play the music, I'm not. But just picture my music rocking because this was my number one lock of the week. I thought there was no way. I mean, I actually locked this up. I feel like mentally I locked this up in July. Like I was like, there's no way. There's no way. But what were we going to say?
They did a great job, no doubt. I mean, 21-7 is even a little dressed up because it was 21-0. I will give myself a little bit of a pass here because Cam Rising did not end up playing. Again, this is a recurring problem with these rosters being released late. Pretty tough to handicap when you're getting conflicting reports on who the starting quarterback will be, the first stringer or the fourth stringer.
You know what? That is Whittingham's fault. Whittingham did that shit last year. Remember they played at Washington State. He doesn't release the reports. He's like Belichick over there doing that. But they were when you go 3 for 17 on 3rd and 4th down, that's a great job. That's a great job by those Beavs. I thought that was a look. Cam Rising lost there 2 years ago. There's a reason why. All right. Not many ranked teams go into Corvallis and get the dub, in my opinion. That was a handicap. Yeah.
Their next 5 weeks, let me get this pulled up. If I'm not mistaken, they have a pretty winnable slate in front of them.
The Beavs or Utah?
The Beavs. The Beavs have upcoming at Cal, which could be tough, but I would favor Oregon State. Hosting UCLA on homecoming, a bye week before going to Arizona and Colorado, which is looking like a tougher game, and then hosting Stanford. They should be favored, I would think, in all 5 of those games, which would put them at 9-1 before Washington comes to Corvallis.
And then
the special year is still alive in Corvallis.
No, I think too, and I actually think this is going to be so fascinating. The Pac-12 backloaded their conference schedules, so you're going to see all these big time matchups. I think they still, despite losing the Washington State game, I think they have a very good chance to end up in the Pac-12 championship. I mean, we'll talk more about that in a second, but that was a huge lock win. And look, my Friday night was fire, by the way. The only thing I lost was the FCS game. I pushed on Louisville. I had a substantial bet on Oregon State minus the points. I ended up betting just like a cheap bet on La Tech against UTEP. It was like $50, and then I had BYU against Cincinnati, and I also had BYU parlayed with Oregon State. So I had a fucking phenomenal Friday. Right. Talk to me about your Bearcats and where you stand after that one, because
2-3, and obviously 5.5 is the win total, so they have to win 3 out of their next 8. 4 out of their next 8. I do think that they were the better team, quite frankly, than BYU, although I did predict them to lose. The spread was 1 or 2.
Yeah.
BYU did cover. We all saw that one coming. But Cincinnati, Scott Satterfield has some issues. there are flashes of a very good team there, but there are also not flashes. There is a constant display of poor coaching and poor discipline by Cincinnati. So they have to get it figured out. But I still think their upcoming schedule is pretty darn manageable. They could win every single game. They won't, but they'll be in every single game. I think they still get to 6 wins. But, my confidence of them getting to like 9 where I thought they would be, they'd have to win out. So I'm still confident that they'll get they'll go bowling and cover the win total preseason.
All right, we'll see, because some teams get hot. We're going to talk about them in a second, but my BYU Cougars, who I think are still a player in the Big 12 race, by the way.
They very much are.
You look at their remaining schedule, and I say, I can buy in.
And they're hosting Oklahoma toward the end of the season. That could be for a spot in the Big 12 championship game.
Correct. Texas A&M, Arkansas, Jerry's World. I had Arkansas plus 6.5. I bet the hell out of it. I ate a bag of shit here.
Yeah.
Because, I understand both teams had pick sixes, but I felt like Arkansas was right there several times. How many 4th and 1s did it? And it seems like A&M's defense is finally improving a little bit. They even saw DJ Durkin getting super excited. I did fear that with Max Johnson, the offense might look a little bit better, and I think that might be true. So he's more experienced than Connor Wegman, and as much as there was a bad pick or thrown by Max Lawn Chair Johnson, they look good, man. They got Bama this in College Station this Saturday.
Could be a huge game. I mean, for the game is actually, the score was actually probably closer than the game was. 12-point win for A&M, but total yardage 414 to 174 in A&M's favor. They're looking pretty damn good, which makes Miami look even better. There are some question marks out there that we just haven't wrapped our mind around yet. So we'll see. But A&M, do you think they could beat Alabama next week in College Station?
Yes. I actually think I might favor them.
Yeah, I'm curious what the spread is on that.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, from a talent perspective, they're on the same level, and I think they can throw the football better. Now, Alabama's defense, I think, is much better than A&M's, but if A&M's defense comes to play like we thought, against Arkansas, which has been a mystery over the past 2 years because A&M's defense has not been consistent, they should win it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Consistency and Road Rash Face and Jimbo Fisher, none of those, and Texas A&M, those aren't synonymous. So if Texas A&M all of a sudden becomes a model of consistency, the world might explode, but they are trending in that direction.
I mean, Bama lost the last time they played there, and A&M was starting Zach Calzada, who's now at Incarnate Word. Daquan saying Bama -3. I mean, I'll take, as of right now, I would take A&M plus the point. I would just ride the money line, though, if it was me. But
yeah.
Let's continue on, because one of the more hilarious games was Utah State and UConn. This game was fucking hilarious. Watch this whole game. All right, so UConn was up 17-0, just about at halftime. Utah State made a field goal with 14 seconds left in the first half. After that, though, in the third, Utah State scores 17 unanswered, takes a 20-17 lead, right? UConn then scores a touchdown. Then Utah State bounces back, scores a touchdown, and they're kind of trading scores back and forth. Utah State, kicked a field goal to go up with 6 minutes left, or 5 minutes left, and UConn drives all the way down the field to tie the game. They tie the game with 40 seconds left. Extra point gets blocked, though. So they didn't technically tie it. All they needed was the extra point. Fucking hilarious game. Jim Mora cannot catch a break right now. I mean, he had a great first year in New Haven, but 0-5. Woo, I did not see this one. I know their quarterback got out for the year in week 2. I don't care.
What's funny is their quarterback got out for the year in week 1 last year, and he's now at the helm. Because he came in as a backup this year. Roberson, 23 of 32, 255, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. I'm sure they're okay with that kind of performance out of their quarterback, but yeah, they can't catch a break. Missing an extra point with under a minute left to lose by 1. That's just the world is against you.
Nothing.
Yeah,
they're up 17-0 in the blowout, but that wasn't even the worst. That wasn't even the worst comeback or worst lead given up. on this Saturday. How about Penn State Northwestern? Penn State ends up somehow, I think this was a push, but Northwestern was up for a good chunk of this game. This score, if you see the final score and say 41-13, this was actually a game for 3 quarters.
Was that just Penn State completely asleep at the wheel, or is Northwestern getting better and made it a game, and then Penn State dressed it up?
I'm going to say both. I think Northwestern, after that winning against Minnesota, they're moving the ball better offensively than I thought they would this year.
Yeah.
And I also think Penn State was a little asleep at the wheel.
Yeah. I mean, they obviously, from a scoreboard standpoint, turned it on, in the fourth quarter. So,
yeah.
Penn State looking pretty darn good. Maybe better than Ohio State at this point. We'll see in a few weeks on that one.
I would say definitely. But hang on. Let's talk about that in a second. I want to tell you folks out there that the college football experience is brought to you by Game Time. Yes, buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater that is near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you'll be having at that very event. All right, so what are you doing, folks? Check out the Game Time app. They have the Game Time guarantee, which is fantastic. It means you'll always get the best price. In fact, if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create that account. Use that CFBX as the redeeming code to get $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we are back on the college football experience. But no, I mean, I think right now Penn State's resume way better than Ohio State's. I don't even think they're comparable right now.
I mean, best win belongs to Ohio State, certainly over
even after Notre Dame's performance against Duke.
Duke's a pretty damn good football team. That I think Notre Dame's performance against Duke is justified of a good football team. And I mean, are we going to give Georgia credit for beating Auburn on the road? I think a little bit, but still going on the road and winning in a ruckus environment against a good team. Not exactly easy, especially when you're doing it week to week. Notre Dame's going to have to do it again next week, too, at Louisville, 7:30 p.m. kick Eastern.
Bro, they're going to be pissed out of Louisville, but I would Penn State's resume, I think, is much, much better. West Virginia hasn't lost since that game. They also played Iowa, who's got a winning record. They also played Illinois. Northwestern sucks, but at least it's a Power 5. What does Ohio State beat Power 5 wise? Just Ohio or just Indiana and Notre Dame, right?
I'll have to take a peek at that in a second. But yes, you're right. I wasn't even considering the Iowa win. West Virginia and Iowa are the two, decent wins on Penn State's resume. Ohio State.
Illinois is not terrible. Illinois is better than Indiana, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Illinois just got slapped by Purdue, which isn't a great look.
Still, but Indiana needed overtime to beat Akron. At least Illinois beat Toledo, you know what I mean, who won the MAC a year ago. I think Illinois is a better football team than Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have relatively comparable. I would lean Penn State based on the two good wins on that. I would say Indiana, Illinois, based on last year, I guess you got to give Illinois the edge there. And just on eye test, I think Penn State looks like the better team right now.
Yeah, I think
which is the first time I feel like I could say that in a long time.
Yeah, they just look more battle tested to me right now. And eye test, I'll say. Tulane beats UAB. UAB covers. Trent Dilfer did a great job yelling at his defensive coordinator. The whole internet, the internet overreacted. Dude, I was thinking about this today.
Yeah.
Football sucks because of the internet, man.
Yeah.
The internet blows everything out of fucking proportion, man. There was a hit. Justin Herbert got hit going out of bounds today, right?
Yeah.
And it was late. It was 100% late, right?
Yeah.
But it's also Chargers, Raiders. They hate each other.
Yeah,
I personally think
doing this for 70 years.
I personally think it's good for the rivalry. But they kicked the guy out of the game, and the internet's asking, I didn't even think he deserved to get kicked out of the game. When we were watching football, you get hit late, when we first started watching football, you get that 15-yard first down. Herbert was okay. Move along, right? Move along. 15-yard penalty.
Yeah.
They kicked him out of the game, though. And, I feel like social media is tweeting at all these people I follow are like at the NFL, suspend him for the season. What the? We've all lost our fucking minds.
Well, how about this? The Colorado State player getting death threats on social media over a late hit.
Yeah, it's all stupid. It's
people overreact just a hair.
I think it's also people that didn't ever play the game.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to guess, I just feel like, dude. I mean, the guy's like it was a late hit, right? But I also feel like shit happens. You know, like come on, relax. Yeah. Not the end of the fucking world here.
Kind of what you signed up for.
Yeah. Anyway, the same thing with Trent Dilfer yelling at his coach. People were saying like, "Hell, this fucking conduct." I'm sure him and his DC are boys. It was just a moment. All right.
Yeah.
Just a fucking.
Who knows? That's between the coach and his assistants.
But he just hired him 3 months ago, or 4 months, whatever, 5 months ago. Like I am sure, like okay, he might probably pissed at that moment because they had a substitution penalty.
Right.
But it was like everyone's saying, like, how could you?
Well, the funny thing is they'll in College Game Day put Nick Saban giving ass chewings to Lane Kiffin, but because Nick Saban has the undisputed clout of being able to do that, there's no problem with that conduct. That is completely acceptable. It's the exact same thing, but because Dilfer hasn't proven it as a coach yet, that's unacceptable conduct for him. So, yeah, people need to, whatever. I mean, I get it. It's not a great look. There's probably
it's not a great look. Also, when you get a 5-yard penalty, the biggest play of the fucking game, because you didn't have the right guy. And I'm not blaming the DC. I don't even know what the fuck happened there, but I'm just saying, okay, relax. Yeah. Like, I mean, have you ever had coaches yell at you crazy, and then 5 minutes, after the game, you're sitting there saying, "Hey, it's all good, man. Let's." Yeah, you're cracking jokes. I feel like nowadays, social media, if you're yelling at it's like, no, you can't do this. And it's like, come on, man. Like I played at
let the man coach.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. But UAB actually starting to look better to me the past couple of weeks, despite getting their ass kicked. Like I'm starting to buy in a little bit that they might be pretty good. The Green Wave get the win. Michael Pratt's first game back.
I mean, they were very much in that game for a long time. I mean, they had a pretty substantial lead.
Yeah. Louisiana did not cover against Minnesota despite winning at the half. PJ Fleck rode the boat in the second half, and
everyone was calling for PJ Fleck's head at halftime, but he did save himself some hatred there by making a nice comeback.
Come on, he won 9 games last year. Even if he loses that game, maybe you send a nice fuck you out to everyone doubting. Clemson, Syracuse. Okay. Clemson was impressive, but at the same time, I thought they weren't, if that makes sense.
That doesn't.
I thought Clemson made a lot of big-time plays. I also thought Syracuse dropped about 4 pick sixes.
Yeah.
And
wasn't there the fumble behind the line of scrimmage that, I don't know, did they call it incomplete?
They called that incomplete. I actually think they might have got that one correct.
You think?
I think, but there was a lot of dropped interceptions. And when I mean interceptions, I mean like wide open 7 points the other way. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Syracuse was the better team here. But I will say I am nervous with Cade Klubnik on the road moving forward because those were a lot of really bad passes that he did not get burned on because it was Syracuse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've already done it. They have already paid the price twice this year. They're out of the playoff hunt. I do think that they are, a pretty darn good team still. I mean, they're not that far from, I guess you could say they're pretty far from 5-0, but 4-1 is, probably what they should be right now. They're a good team. They're not foolproof.
Well, it's to me the road. You go back to the Duke game. This was their second road game against Syracuse, and like I said, their defense lived up to it. They played great, but I don't know that Cade Klubnik is good enough to win 10 games. Even I don't think he is. I think they're going to lose again, maybe twice,
maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times more. Because
the schedule's tough. Yeah,
at Miami, hosting Notre Dame is a far better team than them at this point. I think, or at least a slightly better team. And then North Carolina and at South Carolina, those are they might lose 2 or 3 more probably.
Yeah.
Tough year in Clemson.
I mean, Dabo, put your faith in the Lord. USC and Colorado. Let's talk about this one because Colorado misses an on. I mean, USC was up at one point, I think 48-21 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 41-21.
Yeah.
But Colorado got an onside. If they would have got the onside kick, which was a horrible onside kick, and I have no doubt that they would have scored. I'll put it. And I know Dion too said like, we got the ball back, we were going to score, we were going to go for 2.
Yeah. They had a lot of momentum at that point.
Yeah, and this kind of went the way I projected it. I did bet Colorado plus 23 points, or 22.5, I think it was.
Simply based on USC not having a defense, which reared its ugly head again, and it will probably catch them at some point against the better teams.
And I thought it was a great game for Colorado in a way. I actually think this was it sounds bad. I think it's like a good loss for them. Like they got a lot of.
No, it absolutely is.
Well, I'm talking about like the experience. A lot of players were injured for them. All right. They had no Miles Slusher, no Travis Hunter, no Shiloh Sanders. Their whole secondary was out. And Cormani McClain, I thought this is the first time he played in a Colorado uniform on the field, that is. And he looked good. And I also thought Amarian Cooper, not Amarian Cooper. Who am I thinking? Yeah, the wideout. Yeah, he was a fucking stud. And then you mix that with Dylan Edwards, the freshman. I think the future is just so fucking bright with those guys. And they needed to get those reps. So
Marion Miller, 7 catches, 196 yards, 28 yards per catch. I'd say he asserted himself as a player in that offense.
It's his first game.
It's pretty damn good.
Same with Cormani McClain. Primetime was saying like they haven't earned it in practice yet. They were showing up late for meetings or something. So now because of depth, they got in. And I think, Colorado fans rejoice seeing they're like, whoa, what do we have for the next couple of years, assuming they don't transfer? You have a lot. And either way, I think the Buffs, like I said, I thought the score would be similar to this. So I hit on this. Colorado plays Arizona State next week. I think they can go 4-2 here. USC, I'm telling you, they're not a contender. I will say this. They are not a contender to win the national championship this year, in my opinion.
I disagree. Well, maybe not to win the national championship, but to make the playoff, I do think they are still a contender. If we take a look at their schedule, let me get that pulled up.
Yeah, they're going to get fucked up. They're going to get fucked up coming up.
Let's double check. I mean, because, look, Washington is one of the games that you would expect them to have trouble with. They get them at home on homecoming, and not that homecoming makes any difference.
Washington has a much better defense, though, dude. Much better.
Washington, the score may be deceptive. But they only beat Arizona by 7, and USC is a far different beast than Washington. To me, those are similar, explosive levels on offense. In fact, I think USC may be even more explosive, because Washington is more gimmicky in that offense. And so USC has true diversity.
I think that you can't really compare like Washington going at Arizona to Washington at USC, because at Arizona, no one gets up for it. It's like, it's that game at Arizona. At USC, everybody is going to be, they know the stakes. And to me, Washington will be, I think, pretty ready to go. But let's talk about the games even before that. First off, USC does get Arizona next week in a game that I feel like oftentimes is like a very close USC win. Now, I think Arizona is better than what people think this year.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and I still think USC will win that game. But if they're overlooking that, looking at that Notre Dame game, because I think at Notre Dame, I think it's going to be a challenge.
But I think they could beat Notre Dame too on the road.
Sure, Sure. I mean, they're certainly capable of beating any of these teams, but I just feel like so they come back from Notre Dame and they get Utah at home, and I do expect Cam Rising to be back by then.
Yeah, that's a dangerous game, but the fact that it's in Los Angeles, is a big benefit to USC.
Yes, and then they're at Cal, which
a little bit dangerous, but you would think they would be able to get that.
But that is before the Washington game, and then they're home to Washington.
Yeah.
And then they're at Oregon and
The
home
road trip to Oregon seems like a loss. It seems like a hard loss at this point based on how well Oregon's playing.
Dude, if you're a USC fan, you almost hope they lose at Notre Dame because it's not going to affect their Pac-12 part.
Yeah.
But getting Washington, Oregon, and UCLA back to back to back with Utah, just 2 weeks before that, that's a fucking brutal schedule, man.
Yeah. I mean, I do think even if they have one loss in Pac-12 play, that will be good enough to land them in the Pac-12 championship game, just because there will be a lot of carnage around the rest of the Pac-12. So I think they are very much in control of their own destiny here. But you're right. It's not an easy slate. They have to play week in, week out very well.
And if they lost to Utah like 4 straight times or something, I feel like Utah got them in LA last time they played.
Maybe. I'd have to look that up. I feel like they've struggled in LA a little bit, but Utah. But yeah, I mean, if they play like they did in the second half against Colorado, which they've played like several times this year, USC is in trouble. They played like that the previous week against Arizona State for a while there. So the trend is not good.
When I watch Washington, when I watch even Washington State, even Oregon State, I see teams like that are complete for the most part, right? When I watch USC, I see a clear weak team to me. Like, yes, you can move the ball. It's like USC is like a much better version of Colorado to me. Like, they can't defend short of the Stanford game. They can't defend anything. Their tackling is terrible, right? And that's going to catch up to you at some point, even if you get to the playoffs. But once again, though, to me, it's like when I evaluate even Utah, once Cam Rising's back, I think they're pretty fucking complete. When I evaluate Oregon State or Washington State, maybe you could say Washington State, the ground game is not great, but I think Wazoo's defense is good, and I think they can really pass the ball. They're more complete to me than USC, and same with Oregon State. So, and you could make
But they
Oregon
don't have either of those two.
Yeah, but also, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that would work, because the college football, that would probably get stupid, because if Wazoo only loses one game and Oregon State only loses one game or two, I don't know, 2 games, how are they going to rank this thing? But either way, it's going to be fascinating to watch. I can't trust USC with that defense is my point. I think short of Colorado, it is the worst defense out of like bowl eligibility teams in the Pac-12. I think it's worse than Arizona's.
USC has the worst defense, you said,
out of like
bowl Pac-12?
Out of the bowl contention teams. Like, to me, like, okay, USC's defense is probably better than Stanford's and Arizona State's, but short of that, I feel like everybody else has a good defense.
No, they are suspect. Although let's give them credit for the first half.
Yeah. What's that? Oh yeah,
I said,
of course. I mean, that was
they were completely dominant.
True, but I still thought Colorado kind of shot themselves in the foot offensively. It wasn't USC's defense. They missed a field goal. They get a block punt because the fucking punter's an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think it was USC's defense being like, oh, they're on lockdown mode. No, I didn't come away with that. Now USC's offense was in,
high gear.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about I lost a lock war with you. South Alabama.
Which one was that?
South Alabama, James Madison, JMU 31, South Alabama 23. I mean, I hate to sit there and praise you here. I am really I honestly think like they're one of the most impressive teams in all of college football to me is James Madison. They just won 3 straight road games. They come home and they beat the Sun Belt, I think the Sun Belt preseason favorite, who has like 20 players back from a year ago. While JMU's breaking in, new quarterback, like a lot of new positions. I feel like the defense side of the ball took some big hits, and JMU keeps rolling. Like they were, and this final score, I don't think was like they were whooping South Alabama's ass.
Well, this is now a recurring theme, which actually looks like it could be a problem. JMU just letting big leads slip away in short periods of time. But yeah, I mean, they were the superior team by far for 3/4 of that game. That the fourth quarter, all of a sudden you're in a sweat. You're like, what the hell? But yeah, they're looking good. Again, South Alabama, are they a one-hit wonder last year? They
just
went over
Oklahoma State by 27 on the road.
It's true. It's true. I think you got. I'm very happy with where JMU is right now. I think the bye week before hosting Georgia Southern is sweet. I think a couple of outcomes from this weekend in the Sun Belt make, like Georgia State losing, it makes the rest of the schedule look more manageable. A special season is still possible.
Really tough. Marshall's undefeated too. They have a big game this week too.
Yeah,
but that's the thing with Georgia State losing. You only have. That's another thing is obviously we know Tulane's a great group of 5, but you still have undefeateds out there: Air Force, Fresno State, JMU, and Marshall, and Liberty. All those schools still undefeated, and then you have the one-loss teams that we know are very good, like Tulane, Wyoming. It's going to be fascinating to watch all of it down the stretch here. But I honestly think James Madison's one of the most impressive teams in all of college football. Like I thought when I did their preview that they lost a lot of production, and I was like, it's going to take I still thought they'd be like a winning team. I thought they'd be like 7-5.
Yeah.
But I thought, it was going to take them a bit of a hit. Now, last year I was on them on the over. This year I was more reluctant to because of who they were replacing.
I thought there would be a slight step back too,
But they're looking phenomenal, man. They look so good along the line of scrimmage too, to me. Like they look.
Yeah, and
really
the good thing is McLeod, while he's not the same passer as who the hell was their guy last Centeo? Yeah. He's finding what he does well. He's a good runner. I was watching the Cincinnati game Friday night, and their quarterback, I'm drawing a blank on his name too.
Emory Jones.
He's got equal wheels, but he just runs into traffic very frequently. He does not find the gap in the offensive line, and he ends up, getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage when there is a hole for him to run through and get 20 yards, whereas McLeod is doing a good job of, when the play breaks down and he can't get it done with his arm, he is pretty good about getting, the yardage with his legs. So that keeps that offense moving, and they're looking pretty good right now. Yeah,
very impressive win. I mean, they beat them and Troy in the past 3 weeks. So let's talk about this one because I made a bunch of money, and I am pretty sure that the Florida Gators are a bad football team.
Yeah.
I mean, they were giving up 8 yards a rush to Ray Davis in Kentucky, and we had seen Kentucky the previous weeks. I mean, I know they're undefeated still. Credit to Stoops and company. But I don't even think Kentucky's that good. But damn if they did not dominate Florida. And look, this is why I was concerned about Florida. I don't think they're like go back and watch the Utah game. Utah was on their 4th and 5th string quarterbacks, or 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks, I think it was. Florida's not good, dude. They've lost it, in my opinion. And I think Billy Napier, do you think?
Well, let's be honest. The win over
Tennessee
looks good.
But that wasn't even, if you watch that game, go back and watch that game, and you're not, I guarantee you won't be like taken away with how good Florida is. If anything, I thought it was just like an ugly game. Florida won.
Yeah, I mean, but still 13-point win, and Tennessee 4-1 and looking pretty legit after smacking South Carolina. It is one game, but overall Florida 3-2. Maybe they just suck on the road. Someone put a stat. Their 2 losses are on the road at a 4-1 Utah and on the road at a 5-0 Kentucky. They get a little bit of a break with Vanderbilt next week at home, and then going to South.
Also, the Charlotte game, they look like ass. That was a 19-7 game in the 4th quarter where you're just like, Charlotte's not good. What? They just don't pass the eye test to me. I actually think. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they just look like a mess to me. And
I mean that they gave Utah, outside of that Weber State game where they put up 31. Utah had their highest point output against Florida. But Utah putting up 24 points right now is like Iowa putting up 24 points right now. So their defense does maybe suck a little bit.
Yeah, and I just think do you think Napier is back next year? Next year when they take on, I think they get Miami week 1. Is Billy Napier coaching for the Florida Gators?
This is year 2. You would think he would get 3 years. He's got tough games against Georgia, at LSU, Florida State is still remaining, and then Missouri's top 25 right now. They got to go on the road.
Undefeated.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think Florida may, maybe out on him. If he goes 5-7 and they don't go bowling, I think Florida's the type of program that would say, nope, that's not good enough. You're out.
I think so too. I have an Akron future, and for some reason, Akron just can't win games. They miss a game-winning field goal before overtime against Indiana, and pretty much the same scenario happened here against Buffalo. Buffalo, one of the worst teams, wins in overtime 13-10. Akron just can't get it right, man. I feel like I'm still alive because I think they're much more competitive this year than last year.
Yeah.
But god damn, they don't know how to win a football game. They just don't know how to win a football game. Shout out to the Bulls getting their first win of the season. Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan was every bit of the classic we thought it was. I did bet Eastern Michigan in the points. They missed a game-tying field goal to send the game to overtime, and the Chips survive. Shout out to the Chips. Virginia loses to Boston College. They blew a big lead in this game. They were up, They were up
21-7 at half, I believe.
Yeah, 21-7 at half.
They did get a Hail Mary at the end of the half, so it's a little bit cheap of a score there. But look, they are a team that doesn't know how to win. 3 very close losses: JMU, NC State, and now Boston College. I'm not as out on Tony Elliott. I think you have to go through these. You have to find your identity, but eventually you do have to find a way to win.
Let's go through it. Look, well, the good thing is for them that Bronson Yoder, the star running back for William & Mary, I believe, is out for the year. And William & Mary lost to Elon last week.
Yeah, so this should be a pretty good chance to get off the schneid.
I think they're going to beat William & Mary now. I think William & Mary does not look like the team they were a year ago.
Yeah.
Let's say they get that one, and they're 1-5 at North Carolina, at Miami.
Loss.
So 1-7, home to Georgia Tech.
That looks like a win.
Maybe.
Georgia Tech just lost to Bowling Green pretty bad.
No, but the week before they look good. So it's like maybe. At Louisville.
Loss.
Home to Duke.
Loss.
Home to Virginia Tech.
Probably a loss. Virginia Tech looked good this week.
2-10 is Tony Elliott the coach of the Virginia Cavaliers next year.
They'll give him another year. As long as they're competitive in those games. But he's going to be on real thin ice. I'll say that.
Yeah. I still want to watch that William & Mary game. Let's go. Let's go try.
If they're 0-12, he may be out. He may be out.
Yeah. Miami, Ohio puts it on Kent State. Shout out to the Red Hawks. Cal beats Arizona State. I think that score, actually, Arizona State covered, which I know I didn't bet this, but I gave away Cal minus the points on my pick. I think Arizona State got a score late in the fourth.
We should have known better than to have Cal cover. What was it, like 12.5?
Something like that. Yeah,
That's
I think it was. Yeah,
that was a mistake on our part.
Georgia Auburn. Let's get to it because I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. Georgia shouldn't be in the top 10.
5-0 is 5-0.
They're only in the top 10 because of last year.
Yeah.
South Carolina's got a terrible record, dude.
That's true. Auburn. What's Auburn's record? Auburn is what, 3-2 at this point?
3-2 should be, but they beat who? An FCS, UMass, and Cal, and they should have lost to Cal.
Yeah, and UMass might as well be an FCS. So 2 out of their 3 wins, and you're right, they should have been lost. Now their two losses though, at A&M and at Georgia in a close loss. So I think maybe it's tough to gauge what Auburn is. Anyway, going on the road against your rival is tough, but you're right. Georgia is definitely not the team they were the last 2 years.
I have a future on Auburn over, I think it's 6.5 wins. I don't think that shit's hitting. If anything, that's why I took Georgia. I have watched every Auburn game except for the FCS game.
Yeah.
And because I want them to hit the over.
It's 6.5?
I think so.
Well, they have what seems like 3 pretty easy wins left on the schedule. Home against Mississippi State.
I don't think that's easy.
It's not an easy win, but I would favor them. At Vanderbilt and then hosting New Mexico State. That gets them to 6, and then all they have to do is pull an upset against LSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas.
Dude, have you watched them? They suck.
They do suck.
Even the Georgia game, they got all their points off of Georgia turnovers. So, I mean, Auburn's defense is actually good. The Auburn offense is one of the worst offenses in America. They can't
got a mobile quarterback.
They can't throw passes, dude.
Yeah.
Georgia, though, look, it's disappointing that Georgia and Michigan play nobody. I know we say this every week, but I was not very impressed. The fact that they needed to rally in the fourth quarter to beat Auburn. I know it's a hostile environment.
Especially for their first, even remotely tough spot of the year, having to go to
I lost
Auburn.
money on this game, too. Maybe that's my hatred from them losing me money, but between this and the South Carolina game, I don't think Georgia belongs. Okay, they belong in the top 25 because they're undefeated, but they played nobody. The only team with a winning record is Auburn, and that's only because Auburn had UMass and an FCS on the schedule.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, next week they host Kentucky. That's a dangerous-ass game. It's looking like. I mean, if Kentucky wins that, holy crap.
It's in Athens, though. They're not going to
probably
win that. But it's like Michigan. Georgia and Michigan's schedule is just shit. Let's talk about the most exciting game of the day. What if I told you, with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, UCF was up 35 to...
It was 6 or something, or
35-7.
Yeah.
And Baylor would win. They would score 29 unanswered points in the final 15 minutes of the game.
Friggin' disgusting. And look, all these people that are saying, these newcomers don't belong in the Big 12. They still haven't beaten any of the non-newcomers in Big 12 play yet. BYU is the only one with a Big 12 win, and it was against Cincinnati. But I can say pretty safely that UCF proved you can't say they proved they're a better team than Baylor, but God, what a collapse.
Well, they're both with backup quarterbacks, so I mean, you can't really argue. You could argue UCF the week before at Kansas State they didn't have their starting quarterback, which I actually think is a valid argument. But I mean, this game's fucking insane. It looked like people were calling for Dave Aranda to be fired. Now he wins the game. I mean, crazy. This was the craziest fucking game of the whole day.
Yeah.
UCF converted a 4th and 5. Where the McLean drops back 75 fucking yards, it's McLean. He drops back to his own end zone. It's a great highlight. I put it up on our Twitter account at TCE on SGPN. I cashed Baylor plus the points there. I also cashed Michigan minus 18. That was fucking easy. Nebraska's awful.
Very easy. Yeah.
Nebraska's awful, and Michigan.
The Vegas sucks for that one. A 17-point spread in that game.
Yeah,
it's that should have been a 28-point spread.
I mean, Arkansas State beat the piss out of UMass. UMass can't win games. This one wasn't even close. The other ones were close.
It's not that they can't win games. It's that they're fucking terrible.
Well, the other two losses the previous 2 weeks were the wins were right there for them, and they fucked it up. But Western Michigan took care of Ball State. I was on that. Northern Illinois was in a position to potentially win against Toledo and turned it over. Toledo escapes with a 2-point win against the Huskies.
Toledo's a tough team to predict.
They are.
Some weeks they look great, other weeks not so much.
They should be better. They had no business fucking around with Northern Illinois there. Let's talk about that for a second. Northern Illinois and Bowling Green are two of the worst schools in the MAC based off MAC rankings, which is early. But they both have beaten the bottom of the ACC, Boston College and Georgia Tech. I mean, we gotta,
better than ACC.
We got to talk about that. I'm going to say that for Wednesday with NC Nick. South Florida Navy. Okay, I took South Florida money line, and I'm drinking what you're selling on this South Florida team. But damn, if
struggled with Navy for a minute
early on, Navy in the first 5 minutes of the game was up 14-0. I'm like, I even told my boy in Vegas to bet this game. He's texting me. He doesn't know that much about college football. He's from Europe, and he's like, what the fuck's up with your team, bro? And I'm like,
Patience.
I don't know. I didn't even say that because I thought they were going to get their ass kicked when they're down 14-0. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. This is why it's called gambling. But South Florida wakes up. They win on the money line as a 3.5-point dog. Bowling Green beats Georgia Tech. What a bad loss for the Yellow Jackets. Texas Tech wakes up against Houston. Houston was up, I think, double digits, but Texas Tech, to close out the game, I feel like scored like 30 unanswered. In the wacky Big 12, Maryland stays undefeated. They play at Ohio State this week.
Freaking sharp. They could beat Ohio State. That game's in Columbus, so that's going to be a tough
one. If it was in College Park, I could buy in, but I think in Columbus,
probably not. But talk about a program shift. That might be the biggest win in Maryland history if they get that one. Yeah,
I agree. Wagner gets destroyed by Rutgers. Okay, let's talk.
Rutgers covered 46. Bravo, Rutgers.
I can't believe that. I ended up taking the 46. Let's talk about the one that bothered me the most here. On so many levels. I want to bitch about.
Which one was that?
Okay, first off, on my fantasy football team, I start Jalen Daniels at quarterback. On my DFS team, I start Jalen Daniels. And I have a large wager on Kansas plus 17, which I firmly believe would hit if Jalen Daniels was there. This final score is not as close as this game was. If Jason Bean could run between the fucking what? Jason Bean is a solid backup. I don't want to shit on him too much, but I hate how when he runs, he has to go outside. There was so many times, and that's the difference between him and Jalen Daniels. Jalen Daniels is a much better passer, but also he runs between the tackles. Bean does not do that shit, man. So critical plays in this game. Kansas had a 4th and 1 that they fumbled. They also had a big 3rd down where Jason Bean had 10 yards right in front of him, but he stretches it and tries to go to the outside and gets like 4 yards because Texas's team speed is unbelievable. But I know, I'm not.
Oh, the crispness of that offense with Daniels at the helm versus Bean is night and day. And it's like you're saying, it's not that Bean isn't a very good backup. It's that Daniels is a freaking excellent quarterback, and that showed up.
Dude, this was the most frustrating to me because, I want Kansas to play Texas in the Big 12 championship because I think Kansas can beat them. I thought Kansas did a decent job defensively, all things considered. I know they ended up giving up a bunch, in the 4th quarter, but I think if you have Jalen Daniels in this game, I think I'm not going to just say, well, Kansas wins this game, but I think it's going to be a 1-score game in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I think so. I think the leverage of the game got away from them. And, Texas was able to start playing loose and, they pulled away pretty strongly. Kansas's upcoming schedule, UCF and Oklahoma State. They get UCF at home. I feel like that's a win. And going to Oklahoma State, I think they probably get that too. A bye week before hosting Oklahoma, which could be for a trip to the Big 12 championship.
Daniels wasn't even injured. This is what's so frustrating. You got no reports about that all week. And I know you're talking in the chat saying they gave up 660 yards of offense. True, but the dam broke. I thought the defense was playing somewhat respectable for the first 3 quarters, and it broke. And they put up a shit ton in the late 3rd and the 4th. I know Kansas's defense is not the strong suit of the team, but to quote Daquan here, if Jalen Daniels is in, you balance the clock better. They were going 3 and out. And I truly believe Kansas with Jalen. I think Jalen Daniels is the top 10 quarterback in America. So I think it's a huge difference. And then look, maybe they still lose. It's in Austin. Texas is a good football team. But I just thought after watching that, there was a pivotal 4th and 1 where I think Kansas was in the game where they messed up the exchange, right? They ran out of the gun. They messed up the exchange, and that was the turning point of that game when, the next play, I feel like Texas had a 50-yard play, and they opened it up from there. But Jason Bean, the offense just doesn't go the same way with him. I really believe that would be a close game with Jalen Daniels.
Yeah, it was 13-7 at halftime. Yeah, with Bean. If Daniels is in there and they have the lead and they're moving the ball, then, I think it would be a totally different game as well. But for now, Texas dominated them, so let's give Texas the credit.
Yeah, Big Red. Yeah, and I saw what you saw, man. He's talking about how wide receivers were open all game, and Bean missed them. Like whether it missed them with the air mailing the ball or just missed them in here, like. It drove me crazy a little bit, but we need injury reports, man. I mean, I lost a fantasy game. I just pissed away DFS money. I feel like they should reimburse me because I'm like, dude, we didn't know.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
There was no report a week. There was no report a day before. There was no report a week before.
That it was even a possibility.
No information there, and all of a sudden, he's out with back spasms. Fuck out of here. All right. Old Dominion did cash for me. I ate shit on Texas, but Old Dominion almost knocked off Marshall. Marshall stays undefeated.
We talked a lot about that Old Dominion Marshall game last on Saturday or Wednesday. You look great after that. I look like shit, but I'll say this: 4 plays of 66 yards or more. What was the running back for Old Dominion? Had like 275 rushing yards on 11 carries.
I got his name is Kadarius Callaway. All right.
That 11 guy
is 11 rushes, 236 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. What is that? Like 21 yards a rush for the entire game?
Almost 22. I think it was 21 and change.
Yeah. Freaking unbelievable. That guy should go to the transfer portal and get a bunch of
Dominion though. And I don't know what happened in that Texas A&M Commerce game, but I can tell you from the other games, like the Louisiana game, they went out and got Fordham's offensive coordinator from a year ago. And Fordham's offense last year was fucking incredible. Like, if you watch Fordham's offense, they were putting up like 50 every game. So I think it's a little bit of that offensive coordinator coming in there. And I think ODU is going to be a tough out in the Sun Belt. They were asleep at the wheel against Commerce. But Marshall survives. What's that?
I want to see more of ODU. I want to watch that game closely and see if there's something schematic that is leading to these big plays, because watching Cincinnati, it's the exact opposite. They're driving, and then they bog down in the red zone. They can never hit a big play. Whereas it's like every 3 minutes for ODU.
Well, I feel like with Kansas, with Leipold, he gets guys wide fucking open, man, or runners. He confuses the shit out of the defense. Marshall's undefeated. They play at NC State this week, and then they get JMU after that. So 2 huge games if you're a Thundering Herd fan. That could be huge resume boost if they're able to get both of those.
It ain't gonna happen. We're coming in their house and we're taking their breakfast.
If they win both of those, Charles Huff is going to be the next head coach at
Michigan
State. Michigan State or some major school, Florida maybe. Illinois, Purdue beats their ass. That was shocking, by the way.
Yeah, that was.
Brian Walters was with Illinois last year, and I thought, okay, maybe he might have a leg up on knowing how BMO works, but I did not expect 44-19. Shout out to Ryan Walters. We need to talk about UNLV for a second, because they beat the piss out of Hawaii. And much like Tulsa, I'm very nervous. My favorite play was UNLV under 6 wins, right?
Yeah.
They're 4-1, and their only loss is at Michigan in a game they covered, even though it was a 28-point loss.
Barry Odom making us look like crap here.
Well, let's hear me out here. They get a bye week, and then they're at Nevada, Fremont Canyon. The fucking big ass Cannon Trophy, Fremont rivalry there in Reno. You got to favor UNLV in Reno. They're going to be 5-1.
Formerly known as the Civil War, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. 5-1. Then they're home to Colorado State and at Fresno. Maybe they lose both those. Maybe they win. Then in November, they're at New Mexico, home to Wyoming, at Air Force, home to San Jose. I think I could eat shit on this play. I mean, I just need Nevada to upset them. I think if Nevada
is 0-5,
yes,
they have a bye week before going to Nevada, that would be a hell of an upset. But that would put them at 5 wins if they have that.
And then back, it's tough. But dude, they have at New Mexico on November 4th. That's going to be 6. Now, if they pull one other upset, I'm going to eat shit.
Yeah,
I'm just hoping to push at this point.
Colorado State. Wait, it's 5.5. You said or 5?
6.
Oh, 6. Yeah, I don't think they're going to get to 7. A push.
All they need is one upset. They're going to be favored against Nevada and favored against New Mexico. That'll put them at 6.
Yeah.
If they upset San Jose State in the final game of the year, if they upset Wyoming, who just plays a ton of close games,
or even Colorado State, all 3 of those at home.
Yeah. Telling you, it's just I don't have the best feeling about that one.
Let's give Odom some credit.
Vanderbilt had that game won. I needed that game to go to Vandy, and it didn't. Shout out to UNLV though; they're doing a great job. So, yeah. What do you mean though? Like Texas had 327 yards of offense in the first half. They also picked off Quinn Ewers. They only had 13 points. I don't.
He's saying.
Yeah,
he's saying 327. You should have more than 13. Maybe there's something to it. Look, Texas was the better team, on both sides of the ball, but I think Kansas's offense is their strength, and Jaden Daniels is a massive part of that. So I think it's a very different game if he's playing. Yeah,
to me, Bean was not running the offense the way Jalen Daniels runs the offense.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean that is Kansas's defense, though. I don't know if maybe I'm not explaining it correctly. So Kansas runs a bend but don't break defense, but I think they're better than they were the past 2 years under Leipold. But their philosophy is that we're going to bend and don't break and make you kick field goals. And it was working against Texas, even though they had all those yards. That's what they want you to do because they know they're not good enough to pull a 2000 Ravens and lock you down. They are going to make you burn clock and
play situational football.
That is, I'm telling you, he's talked about this. If you go and go listen to Lance Leipold talk about their defense from a season ago, it's like we didn't have the guys. We're going to play bend but don't break and count on them to make the mistake. And that was happening.
He's a good coach.
Yeah.
He's an honest appraisal about what he's got at his disposal.
And it's smart. It's smart because I think that's a very winning formula in college football in general, whether you're Kansas or whether you're somebody, because, I think over time you're bound to make a mistake. You're bound to make a mistake. And if you're just settling for field goals while you have Jalen Daniels or another good offense.
Yeah. Look, I think Texas is probably the better team. Is probably the better team than Kansas, but I think Kansas has a chance to beat Texas in a game of football with Jaden Daniels playing. Not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much with them.
Let's talk about another job that could be opening. Boise State loses to Memphis. Boise State was up 17-0. And Ryan Silverfish comes back. Dude, Boise's going to fire Avalos.
What are they sitting there at right now? 2-3. Yeah, that's not up to that standard at all.
They're going to fire him. Chris Peterson. Look, San Diego State should make a run for him. Boise State should make a run for him. Bronco Mendenhall's out there. Just saying. He's going to get fired.
Yeah, there are coaches that they could get that are way better.
Yeah. I ate shit on that one. Shout out to Memphis and right. That was a huge game because both coaches were kind of I feel like that's a huge win for Silverfish. And Memphis is still undefeated, by the way. I forgot them.
Yeah, let's give the man some credit.
Yeah. Wyoming handles New Mexico, but New Mexico covers, went exactly the way I thought it would be. So Wyoming's hosting Fresno this week in a gigantic game.
Yeah. This is likely, very likely, or almost likely to be, narrow the field. This will decide from the Mountain West, I think, that and the Air Force game, who is the likely candidate for the New Year's Six. But Tulane is also very much still in play, too.
Oh, and we didn't even mention, we think Texas is good, but they've also played 3 straight backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's not make a point of making this a horns down episode.
No. But this was like TCU last year. Remember TCU played 5 straight backup quarterbacks. Florida State also got I feel like 3 out of 4 games where they played back. Dude, it is so beneficial to your fucking season if you can just have that luck.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not forget Wyoming, Texas was 10-10 in the 4th with their fucking backup quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're going to get a much better picture, assuming, the Oklahoma quarterback doesn't have back spasms Saturday morning next week. The Red River shootout, which I expect to be a shootout. I expect a ton of points in that game.
Yeah. I think Texas is going to beat them. I think Texas is better than Oklahoma, but I don't give a shit, man. Like it's very rarely in college football. So I've been watching college football passionately since like 1992, and it's very rare that you get a team to play 3 straight fucking backup quarterbacks.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm fucking saying.
It's beneficial for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
TCU did it last year, and I think Florida State had like 3 backups out of 5 games or something.
Yeah, in some pretty big games too.
Oh, normally it can catapult it can really help your whole fucking season getting backup quarterbacks. Texas still looks good. I'll give them credit, but come on, you got to be honest and say that's very fucking fortunate at the same time. Yeah.
I mean, they squeaked by Wyoming with the backup quarter. I mean, they ended up winning by 21, but they were tied in the fourth quarter with them. So.
Yeah. Missouri is undefeated. Now, I do have a future on Missouri over, I think it was 6.5 wins. Maybe it was 7. I got to double check it, but I'm feeling very good about that because
their win over Kansas State looking pretty legit at this point too.
Yeah.
I mean, Missouri,
it's a crazy win, but I mean, dude, fuck it. When you're on the hot seat, which I think he was coming into the season, Eli Drinkowitz, that he needs every win. Now they host LSU this week.
It's a winnable game.
That's a very winnable, especially because LSU's secondary is trash and Missouri's wideouts. Luther fucking Burden looks like fucking Jerry Rice. No, he looks like not even Jerry Rice. He looks like friggin' Harold Carmichael 2.0. How about that for you? Let's go. All right. Because he's huge, man. That guy's a fucking beast.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
38-21. Shout out to Mizzou. I thought that was a look ahead spot. I thought, I lost I actually took Vandy in the points. Ate shit.
Vandy was, winning that game for a minute. That one was actually a little bit of a sweat because they end up winning by 17.
Yeah, who's better, Mizzou or Kentucky?
Oh, that's really tough. They're going to play in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be for second place. I mean, I guess you could say Tennessee too.
Next week,
Tennessee's probably going to be in the mix too. But Mizzou, I'm fascinated by that LSU matchup, and let's talk about LSU Ole Miss because this was the most disgusting game of the fucking the whole fucking season. All right, 55-49 is disgusting. I don't care what anyone says. All right, Ole Miss put up over 700 yards of offense. LSU had like a 2-score lead. I want to say pretty late in this game. They're up by 9. They somehow squander this.
Brian Kelly is Brian Kelly. He will never not be the same dude.
Dude, I got to admit that I was wrong here. Like, I thought LSU was a national championship contender. I thought they were a CFP contender.
Well, he's got an explosive offensive, playbook, and he's got a shit ton of talent at his disposal. It makes sense. And they won the SEC West last year. Logically it makes sense, but it is ignoring the fact that Brian Kelly's proven who he is for like a decade and a half now.
This game was fucking ridiculous. This was a ridiculous football game. I mean, shout out. I thought Lane Kiffin outcoached Brian Kelly, but I mean, I was a dude.
Was it 1,300 some odd yards?
Dude, it was ridiculous. This was a Big 12 game. This was like a 2005 Big 12 game. Yeah. I have a lot of concern about LSU now. I think LSU is going to lose to Missouri next week. I don't think LSU, dude, is Bama going to win the SEC? I mean, A&M or Bama, right? The winner of that is going to have the inside track.
Yeah, next week or this coming weekend might be for the SEC West.
Unbelievable that they lost. Did you see the scenes here? First off, there was the drunken idiot on the I shouldn't even say idiot because I adore him. That was on the fucking goalpost. And then he just jumps down in like a flip and he ate shit and then he gets arrested. Fucking hilarious fan. Go watch that video if you haven't. It's on our Twitter page at TCE on SGPN. Also, there was a security guard. Oh, the security guard. First off, this guy might have played left tackle at some point in his life because he was definitely in position. But clocked a girl.
Good foot sliding.
Clocked a girl like in the neck. No, he was doing a good job but at some point you got to realize that, It's a loss. There's 10,000 people on the fucking field. You know what I mean? Like,
stopping them all.
Dude,
Right.
If I'm that chick's dad, man, it's personal. Unbelievable. What a win for Ole Miss. That's probably I think that's the best win of Kiffin's career at Ole Miss. I guess they're still alive too. Look, before we get to the next game, I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite football team all season long. You can win up to 20 times the amount of money you enter in a single game by going 5-4-5. And from now until October 4th, Underdog is matching 100% of the first deposits up to $500. Once again, $100,000 they're giving away every single Sunday. They got $2 million up in prizes for season-long contests, and they're giving out $10,000 to 10 different people each and every week. And there's new sweepstakes each week of the NFL season. So, folks, watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little extra cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, UnderdogFantasy.com. By the way, I was on fire today in the NFL. I was 8-1 to start the day. I didn't bet every single game, but I'm saying for making my picks, I fucking was absolute fire. So anyway, sign up with the promo code SGPN at Underdog. They'll double your first deposit up to $500. That's Underdog Fantasy. Promo code SGPN. All right. Yeah. A&M wins. Yeah. I kind of think right now I would favor them. I know they still have to go to Baton Rouge, though. And LSU is going to be good enough to fuck up some teams. And I guess LSU only has one loss. So right now, Bama has 0 losses in the SEC. Ole Miss has 1. A&M has 0. Arkansas has 2. They're pretty much out of it. Mississippi State has 2. They're pretty much out of it.
A&M, let's take a look. 4-1. Impressive wins against Auburn and Arkansas.
But they have to go to Tennessee, I think, right?
Yeah, that's a tough draw. They have to go to Ole Miss, and like you said, they have to go to LSU. They're probably taking an L somewhere in there, not to mention the Alabama game. I can't see them going.
Alabama's got to go to Kentucky, too, though, man. As much as I think Bama is a good defensive team,
they'll smash Kentucky because, look, they handled Ole Miss. There's still just such a talent disparity there that's not the type of game
that was in Tuscaloosa. You have to go to Lexington.
Still,
I understand your point, but I'm saying, like, I just think this Bama team is more vulnerable than any other Bama team we've seen since, like, 2008.
Absolutely.
So, that would be fantastic. I mean, A&M, I'm on the over win totals wise. I didn't take them to win the SEC, but fascinating to see what Jimbo can do. And it seems like he might be saving his job there. Oregon beats the hell out of Stanford. They score 42 unanswered. Stanford was up 6-0 early. The Ducks are rolling.
Ducks are like good, man.
Yeah. But I should have lost to Texas Tech, but yes.
Yeah, that was a close game. That's true.
No, but they're still good. They're a good team. It's tough to win on the road.
They're good on both sides of the ball.
Georgia Southern covered for me against Coastal Carolina. That was fantastic, even though I had to sweat a little bit. And Georgia State got the shit beaten out of him by Troy. Troy's back, apparently.
Texas
Southern
State.
Dude, Texas State. Southern Miss, most disappointing team in college football this year. In the group of 5, Southern Miss.
Yeah. Figured they were on the come up. Not the case.
I don't know what happened there. Colorado State beats Utah Tech. Oklahoma drops 50 on Iowa State. Got that one wrong. I didn't bet that. But, it sets up for a great Red River shootout. I think Texas is way more tested than Oklahoma is. So that's why I kind of think Texas is going to fuck them up.
Yeah. The only thing is I think Oklahoma still has a more explosive offense, but I think Texas has a much better defense. Even though Oklahoma's defense statistically pretty good, I think there's just going to be a shit ton of offense in this game. Give me 45-42. I don't know who wins. No,
I'm laying the 5 with Texas. I think Texas wins by double digits.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to.
I don't think they're going to be able to stop Oklahoma's offense.
I think Oklahoma's schedule. I need to see it. Like we all know Iowa State when their whole team got kicked off the team. You know, they did what they had to do, and I don't want to say that they shouldn't be where they are.
Yeah, that game was close for a second.
I just don't trust the resume. I don't think any of those wins are good. I mean, yes, the score is good. But I'm saying like the teams aren't good.
Yeah, let me take a look at their resume again. I mean, again, I think Cincinnati is better than their record, so I think that's a decent win. Even though
Cincinnati's like what I thought Cincinnati would be, I think.
Okay, that might be fair, but I think the Big 12 is lower, so I think they'll do fine. But yeah, you're right. Arkansas State sucks. SMU is looking decent. What is SMU sitting at 3-2?
Dude, they struggled against Charlotte more than I thought too. Like, I don't think
they're not good.
I'd be in a bowl, but is that their best win?
I mean, Tulsa
is better than SMU.
Yeah, I think Cincy's definitely their best win, and they did have a hard time scoring a lot of points. So if that's what their offense looks like against a decent defense, Cincinnati doesn't even have any elite defense this year at all. They're a decent defense. So if this offense completely bogs down, but at this point in the season, Oklahoma's put up 73, 66, and 50.
And Big Red's got a point. We did say Texas played 3 straight backups, but that win at Alabama is one of the best wins of the college football season. I don't care if Saban's down. I learned something there. I also think Wyoming is a very good team in the Mountain West, and I also think Rice will be a bowl team. I know that's nothing. SMU will be a bowl team. But I just feel like Texas's resume is a lot better. Kansas is good, even though it's a backup quarterback. I think Kansas is still a good football team.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, Texas has the better resume. But I think Oklahoma, from an eye test standpoint, they schematically, I think, are more impressive than Texas. I think from a player's standpoint, they're about equal. This is on the offensive side of the ball, although I will say Texas definitely looks like the more versatile team. So if Texas can stop Oklahoma's passing game, I don't think Oklahoma has that running game that they can turn to, So.
And Texas certainly embarrassed them a year ago, so Oklahoma will have the chip on their shoulders. So there's something there. East Carolina should fire Mike Houston.
Yeah, they probably should at this point. You lose to Rice, you should get fired from your job.
1-5.
Ouch. Yeah, he's got to go. Sorry, it's my dude. I love you, Mike, but come on, 1-5 is not getting it done.
South Carolina loses to Tennessee by 21. There's a great video of there's a great photo that I tweeted out of a South Carolina. I thought it was a Tennessee fan, so I must apologize to the Vol Nation. I think it was a South Carolina fan that's getting arrested in the crowd with his
pants down.
A very, very disturbing scene at Neyland Stadium there. He's got his pants down. He's fat as shit. He's got a gigantic gut. And he's wearing underwear.
Gray tighty whities or tighty grays.
One of the most like SEC photos you could find. I'll put it like that. One of the most SEC photos you could ever find. I mean, fucking hilarious. Fucking hilarious.
Hey, if you're not getting arrested with your pants down in the stadium, like you're not doing it right. It does mean more in the SEC.
Wait, worst take in my. What are you saying? Worst take you've ever heard in my life? What, the worst photo you've ever seen in your life? Right? Notre Dame Duke, man. Oh my God. Sam Hartman, 4th and 16, pulls it out of his ass. And look, Mike Elko is an unbelievable coach, but I'm shocked that they brought the house on 3rd down, 3rd and 16, and he basically probably should have thrown a pick. My Duke's player kind of drops it. Would have been a hard interception, but
yeah, luck of the Irish.
But no, I would have brought the house again because Hartman had all day, and then he decides to take off. And credit to Sam Hartman, it was a gutsy play, and it was he's a 35-year-old quarterback that is very good. But oh man,
he's also a very handsome man. Let's give Sam Hartman credit.
Michael Pratt treatment.
The guy looks like a freaking model with the hair flowing.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I came away super fucking impressed with Duke.
Duke, yeah, Duke's good. They are legit. They're still very much players in the ACC.
Well, they don't have a loss yet in the ACC. They have the Clemson tiebreaker, right?
Yeah.
And they get a bye week, but Riley Leonard did get injured on the late in this game. It's a high ankle sprain. They might not have him 2 weeks from now when they host NC State.
Yeah, that could be a factor.
They still
Getting
might
the bye week.
They still might be able to beat NC State, but they're going to need him after that because they have back-to-back road games at Florida State and at Louisville. And I'll be honest, the team I saw yesterday, if everyone's healthy,
could beat Florida State for sure.
I think they can play with Florida State. Yeah. It's in Tallahassee though, so I would have to favor Florida State. But
Florida State is not even, I would say, a demonstratively better football team than Duke on any level. I think. I don't know. Quarterback wise, who do you go with? Hunter or not? Travis?
No. I think Riley Leonard's like. Here's the thing: Jordan Travis can make more. He can have that like 60-yard touchdown run or something. The more explosive play. But I think Riley Leonard
Leonard can do that too.
But he never makes like stupid plays. Whereas I feel like, dude, I think he's a really good fucking quarterback. But if he's got a high ankle sprain, I don't know how fast he'll be available. But even if they lose, if they could beat NC State on the 14th, right? They could even lose that Florida State game, but they're going to need the final stretch of the seasons at Louisville. They're going to need to win that. That's going to be a must-win game if they're going to, because they'd have the tiebreaker on Louisville. Then home to Wake Forest, which I would favor them. At North Carolina, who knows? These games are always fucking wild. Yeah. At Virginia and home to Pitt. I think those are wins. I think Duke could be in the ACC championship, so maybe we shouldn't put Louisville in there yet.
I don't know, man. There are some losses there. I think NC State, at Florida State, at Louisville, at North Carolina, they're going to lose probably two of those.
Two might be enough, though, as long as you beat Louisville.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Duke is very much alive for the ACC.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but shout out to the chat. What up, D. Bettis? SMU beats Charlotte. And then how about this one? I was on this one. I want to play music, but since I might burn down the whole fucking studio, I won't do it. West Virginia 24, TCU 21. Dub V gets that win on the road at TCU. I was on this one. on the money line. This is why my Saturday was great. Dude, hear me out here. They're 4-1. They get a bye week, and then they're at Houston in the Holgerson Bowl, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be 5-1, right?
Yeah.
Then they're home to Oklahoma State, who looks like ass, and they have to go to Morgantown. I think they're going to be 6-1.
Probably.
Which then sets up a gigantic Halloween weekend when they go to the Moon Bounce in Orlando.
A winnable game, though. Will Plumlee be back by then?
Yeah, I don't know. That one still scares me a little bit because the momentum of that place. But then home to BYU.
Greatest crowd mix of all time here.
Yeah. Then
Mormons versus meth heads.
Dude, the only like flat out loss on the schedule would probably be at Oklahoma.
Probably. Yeah, that's a tough spot.
But that means they would only have one loss in conference. Watch out for the Mountaineers. That UCF game becomes huge. Now watch, they probably lose to Houston, Holgerson, who knows. Right. But it's fascinating by Neil Brown doing it. App State needed a last-second field goal to beat.
They're looking iffy. I mean,
hey, that was a huge win though for my over 6 wins.
Yeah,
they're now 3-2.
A win is a win. You got to take it. Yeah, the rest of the way looks manageable for App.
I think they can win the next 3, and then we can sit there and laugh. So, yeah.
Don't skip over the one. I know you don't want to give Virginia Tech credit.
No, that's 2 away. 2 away. Okay. San Diego State Air Force. Holy shit! The Air Force Falcons 49-10. Brady Hoke, you're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. You've taken Rocky Long's program and turned it into a garbage ass program. Yeah. That thing was a factory to win 9-10 games every fucking year, and you fucked it up. You deserve to be fired, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they're just soft. They got physically rolled.
I mean, let's talk about how good the Mountain West is right now. I think it's criminally underrated right now. Fresno's undefeated. Air Force is undefeated. Wyoming only has 1 loss in a game that they were tied with Texas in the 4th quarter. UNLV looks pretty fucking good. Colorado State looks decent. I mean, the Mountain West is up, buddy.
Yeah, and Air Force somehow is still not even ranked. It sucks that, like, the college football playoff will be so good when it expands, because all of these good teams, it won't matter that they're not getting the recognition, because they'll end up playing for something, and it's just going to be a much more fun conference for the common whatever snorkeler out there.
Yeah, and shout out to, I want to give Fox a shout out here. They just pushed, so they were supposed to play at Iowa State game this Saturday on Fox. They pushed it, and they're moving up Fresno at Wyoming. That is fantastic. That needs to happen more, because that game's awesome. That fucking game is one of the better games this upcoming week.
So that's going to be on
Fox,
network
nationally
TV,
nationally televised. Let's go.
There we go.
Pitt. I ate shit on this. I bet Pitt -2, and I put a large wager in on this. Virginia Tech 38, Pitt 21.
Probably the biggest head-scratching result of the weekend, because Virginia Tech has not looked good, but they kicked Pitt's ass.
What is wrong with Pitt, though? I mean, dude, when I was watching, I want to see the final stat line. When I was watching, Jerkovic was like 3 of 15, but one of those passes was like an 80-yard touchdown. He was 11 of 12 for 235. How the fuck did they only run? They only rushed for like 59 yards on Virginia Tech. And if you count the negative yards that Jerkovic got, you'd say they only had like 38 yards or something. Pitt, I did not see this coming from Pitt. Pitt looks like one of the worst teams in the ACC.
That was a terrible performance. Let me ask you this. Virginia Tech goes to Tallahassee next weekend. Is there any chance that they can pull an upset there? No.
I mean, if they play like that, but no. I just judging by the other times I saw Virginia Tech, even the ODU win, I thought they looked like shit. But I will say, that is their most impressive win. That is not even win. They look the best I saw them on the field this week. Not the ODU game. It was this week. So, shout out to the Hokies. Brent Pry needed that one. He needed that one.
Kyron Drones, efficient football. 12 of 19. They're definitely not throwing the ball around. They're running the hell out of the ball. 2 guys with 20 or more carries. I guess Drones is one of them, but the Tootin is the back. Yeah, I mean, a dominant defensive performance for Tech too.
Yeah. Alabama beat the hell out of Mississippi State. That job's going to be open. That might be Charles Huff's next job.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, they're getting their ass kicked week in, week out. They're not going to bring him back next year because he's in that interim / role. I think his days are done unless he starts winning right away.
Yeah, he's not showing anything.
Because could they get Dan Mullen back?
They could.
I think they should.
They probably should.
Shout out to Bama. It's a nice road win, and Jalen Milroe is your best quarterback. I want to continue to watch that story because I was making this point in the studio the other day, and I didn't watch that much of this Mississippi State game, to be honest, because we were at the bar. But I think Jalen Milroe, if used correctly, can be fucking awesome. I don't think they're using him correctly.
2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, I think they're figuring it out.
Designed runs for him, run option with him all the time. With the rest of your supporting talent, I think he could be really good. It's just like they were trying to make him like, hey, Bryce Young. No, that's not his game. You got to use his skill set to his advantage.
Get him on the edge, RPO.
Yeah.
Maybe once in a while drop him back.
I agree. Bama at A&M. Can't wait for it this week. Washington, Arizona. Yes, I did have a large wager on Arizona plus 18 points. The score was dressed up a little bit. Arizona scored with like 1 minute left. They got 7 points. But you got to remember also, this is much like the Jalen Daniels thing. Jaden DeLora didn't play. So that was the backup quarterback. Noah Fafita, which, by the way, I am friends with his father. So shout out to Noah Fafita. First game as a starter. I appreciate dude, you balled. Considering, all things considering, great first fucking game. Washington only wins by 7, even though it was like 14, 21 point game back and forth. What do you deduce from this game, Patty C? We only have one more game after this to talk about.
It was about Arizona dressed it up and kept it a little closer than I thought the score would end up. But I figured they would, have a little more answers for that high-powered offense just because they're a, kind of high-tech defense. So they weren't, schemed to death, and they had the answers for it. But still, Washington just a better team. Impressive performance by Arizona, but Washington keeps rolling.
Yeah. So Washington has Oregon next, so they have a bye this week, and then they host Oregon. That game's gonna be fucking awesome.
Does game day go there or Notre Dame USC? Where do you think?
Should go to. They went to Notre Dame. They already went to the Ohio State game. They should go to Seattle. Yeah. But once again, and I'm a Colorado fan, I think it's ridiculous that Big Noon and game day are there like every other week. Spread the love. College football is there's a lot out there to grab. And by the way, fuck game day calling out Washington State. I thought before like Dickert's response was a little too much, but then I'm like, I saw McAfee talking shit about Wazoo.
Yeah, I don't know if how serious he was, but shut the hell up.
Wazoo has a reason to complain. He was basically saying they need to shut up. Yeah. Wazoo is being left. They're a much better program than like 50 of the teams that are like Maryland or Washington State. Who's got a better program over the past 30 years? It's Washington. Easy. Yeah. I mean, we can go one by one, but anyway, I don't know. That Washington Oregon game is going to be and Washington State at the Rose Bowl this week. That's going to be fantastic. Final game to talk about. Fresno State continues to roll as they beat the piss out of Nevada 27-9, and Nevada scored all of that 9 in the fourth quarter. Fresno State,
awesome.
Jeff Tedford should be a fucking Power 5 head coach.
Yeah.
He's the most underrated coach in America.
Yeah. He's been doing it at a lot of stops for a long time. The fact that he's still able to do it, impressive.
But how the fact that like all these other Pac-12 schools or Big 12 schools, because he's a West Coast guy, have whiffed on him.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Somebody go hire this guy.
I mean, Wilcox is doing a fine enough job, but does Cal take another look at him, do you think?
I mean, he might. I think he was sour with the way things ended, though. So I mean, he might be like, "Fuck you,"
yeah,
because he had won a lot of games with them. But I'm saying San Diego State, but I don't even think San Diego State.
It's a lateral move at best.
Well, he played at Fresno too, so it's like he might be content. Yeah, but man, that Fresno at Wyoming, that's where fucking game day should be in Laramie, baby. All right,
great game.
All right, folks, that's our show. That's our recap. I'll be back tomorrow at noon in the proper studio. I apologize for the technical difficulty, and I'm not even going to drop this as a podcast. So this is just a YouTube special. So appreciate everyone that tuned in. Give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The Bombs Down Under will be on me and CJ Sullivan at noon tomorrow, noon Pacific. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/The College Experience. Check out all those college basketball previews we got. The season starts in about 5 weeks from today, I think. So go check out those basketball previews. I also host the FCS College Football Experience. We'll have another episode tomorrow recapping the FCS. North Dakota State took a beat down at home in the Fargo Dome from the Coyotes of South Dakota. Uh-oh.
Easy to see a tide turn.
It is easy. I wanted to play it, but I don't want to burn down the place. Folks, until next time, though, this is the College Football Experience. I'm not going to have outro music. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.